We're going into our next interview where we're talking about recruitment. We have the Regency Recruitment and Resources Chairman, Lara Quentrall-Thomas, on the line with us via Zoom to talk about Caribbean jobs, trends, and so on. There's an upcoming webinar that you have to be a part of. Good morning, Lara.
Good morning, and thank you so much for having us on your show this morning.
Thank you so much for being here. Now, I'm interested in this conversation because, you know, it's not just Trinidad and Tobago that you're going to be focusing on. You're now focusing on 4 countries within the Caribbean.
Exactly. So Regency Recruitment has in the last few months been establishing partnerships with recruitment agencies in other parts of the Caribbean to really explore what are some of the opportunities for Caribbean nationals to move for work, to look for opportunities. You know, there's been a lot of conversation here about I can't find a job in Trinidad. There's no jobs in Trinidad, which I have to say is not exactly true because there are a lot of jobs here.
We're going to get into
it's just
that.
whether it's the right job for you with your skills and your experience. And so we have partnered with Hire BVI in British Virgin Islands and Strategic Recruitment in Suriname as part of the Hummus Group, which also covers Guyana. And so the idea behind this webinar was to really explore what are the opportunities in those 4 countries, so Trinidad, Tobago, Suriname, Guyana, and the British Virgin Islands, all quite different. I mean, Guyana and Trinidad, of course, there are some similarities, but their oil and gas industry is now booming. Suriname, there's a lot of potential there. Their economy seems to be on the verge of a boom. British Virgin Islands, I think, is perhaps even an unknown to many people from Trinidad and Tobago. What might the job opportunities be there? So we thought it would be a really interesting exercise to bring those 4 perspectives together. We're doing this next week, Tuesday. It's 9 a.m. Trinidad time in the morning. It's online to really look at what are the opportunities, what are some of the trends in jobs, where are the sectors that are hiring, what are the skills that are being looked for. We're also hoping to have a couple of employer or government representatives join us. That's still to be confirmed, but to again give more of a sort of a national perspective. But each of the 4 agencies will be presenting their experience. So, for example, Regency will be sharing some of the job trends that we've been seeing in Trinidad. Where have the opportunities been? What kind of work is available? Where have we seen declines and increases? And the hope is that it will guide job seekers to then maybe think more broadly about applying for jobs outside Trinidad, or even for persons outside Trinidad to think about coming to work here with us.
Yes, definitely. So we want to unpack a lot of what you said, because you said a lot of interesting stuff just now. So let's go back to the fact that people, you know, may be saying that there aren't jobs. Are there jobs available?
So as a recruiter, we are, of course, an intermediary between employers and potential employees. So we are the ones that employers would come to and say, can you help us find a person with this particular skill set or this experience? And we then go out to the market to look for those people and then screen them for our clients. I would say to you in the last year, really since last spring, let's say sort of April, about a year, the job market has been booming in Trinidad and Tobago. From our point of view, we have seen a real increase in the number of jobs, large-scale volume recruiting in public and private sector. A lot of ministries are now ramping up their recruitment, and you will see it if you go online, if you go on social media. There are many of the ministries are advertising positions at all different levels. So there's a lot of work out there. I do know, though, that there are also a lot of unemployed people. And so this is an unusual situation. Normally we have one or the other. So this tends to be kind of a cyclical thing. But for the first time in many years that I can recall, we've got a large number of both jobs and job seekers. And so clearly the jobs that are available do not always match what the job seekers, what skills they have, what experience they have. But I have to say, I mean, you just have to open the newspapers, look at the classifieds, how many jobs there are. Now, they may be contract positions. They may be short-term temporary positions. It may not be your dream job. But, you know, I think once you've got a basic education, and are willing to work, and I know some people are going to get cross with me for saying this, but I really do feel that there's opportunities here.
Yes, you can start. What you're saying is to start somewhere.
Yeah,
Start.
yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Don't wait for, the dream job just because you've got a degree, for example. You're sitting at home waiting for that perfect job. It may not come, and it's certainly not going to come if you're sitting at home. You need to be out in the marketplace. Work is where you find work. Work is where you network with other people. You meet people who, and we know Trinidad. So,
Yes.
your boss's neighbor's girlfriend's barber is looking for somebody, right? That's how you get jobs in this country, as much as, of course, registering with employment agents like ours, going to Caribbean Jobs Online, looking at the newspapers. So there's multiple ways you can find opportunities, but the key thing is to be open, I think, to what's available.
Right.
When I did my degree, my first job was making coffee and photocopying. Having a degree does not mean you automatically become a manager.
Understood. We want to get to that in a bit, but I want to find out something that you said. We have jobs, we have persons who are unemployed. Now, we just came out of a pandemic, and cautiously saying that because we're still dealing with the consequences, the effects of, and so on. Has the job, the skills that these employers are looking for, has it changed because of the pandemic, because of the shift that these companies had to make to more digital point of view? Have these skills changed? And maybe that may be the reason why some persons, while there are jobs, they're not getting through with those jobs.
Right, and that's a great question. So the first thing is many of our employers now are asking as a baseline that persons have to be vaccinated. Okay. So let's just start with that, right? There are many employers who will not accept unvaccinated applications or applicants. So that's the first line. The second thing is, yes, you're right. There are many jobs now that require an enhanced level of digital skill. You may be working remotely like we are today. I'm joining you remotely. So your ability to adapt to that sort of hybrid work situation is certainly something that we are seeing more of. We're also looking for people with a certain amount of resilience. There's a lot of emotional intelligence being required now to deal with all of the pandemic was stressful. It was a very difficult time for many people. So looking at how persons have managed to rebound from that and come back strong. But on the flip side, public service jobs have pretty much gone back to the way they were before the pandemic. Monday to Friday, 8 to 4, stuck in traffic, in-person jobs. There are still jobs, if you're looking at more entry-level restaurants, supermarkets, tourism, hotels and tour operators, those sorts of things that require you to be physically there in person. So I think it's really a combination of both. There are definitely going to be more digital jobs or digital skills required for a certain category of job. But there are also many jobs that are pretty much the same as they were before COVID.
As a job seeker, what would you recommend? How does one prepare themselves, going into looking for a job? You said, just start. How do I prepare myself, my resume, with the hopes of being employed?
Right. So, well, there's a lot of research. Of course, the internet has 10 million different websites and articles and things that you can do your research to, and templates for resumes. There are some great templates. I would encourage you to go to Regency's Facebook page because we have recorded a number of Facebook Lives over the last few months with guests and just me on my own, talking about lots of different elements of the job search. So how to prepare a resume, how to build your brand. We just did that one yesterday. So go and have a look at some of those videos because that will help you think a bit more about how to be more strategic in your job search. A resume, of course, is something that you do have to put some care and attention to make sure it's a document that represents you well. And in an ideal world, you should be tailoring your resume for every job that you apply to. So it's slightly different every time. I know for some people that's not an option. So you really want to make sure that your base resume is really strong, really good. As I say, go and watch some of the videos that share advice with you. We do offer a resume writing service at a fee. So if you really want to invest in having a great resume, you can always reach out to Regency. But there's enough, I think, online to get you started anyway. I think really at the end of the day, you have to be confident enough or find the confidence to go out and let people know that you're looking for work. Tap into your networks,
Yes.
whether it's through your church or through your old school network, or maybe there's a community group in your area that would be able to help you find employment. It's important to let people know that you're willing to work, you're willing to do, if you really are willing to do anything just to get yourself out there, earn a bit of money. There was a story during COVID, I don't know if you remember, of a guy who was an engineer, or I think he was an engineer at Point Lisas or something like that, a very technical, well-educated individual. And he lost his job, and so he ended up washing cars in somewhere in Central. If you remember that. That's what you have to do. You have to do what it takes, right? To get yourself up, to get some money coming in, to pay your bills. But in that process, you actually start to build confidence. You may discover skills you didn't know you had.
Right.
You may end up becoming a fabulous entrepreneur. What is it they say, that necessity is the mother of invention?
Yes.
We saw that during COVID.
Definitely.
So I think that there's a number of approaches to take. But a good starting place would be, of course, to come to our webinar next week, Tuesday, but also go and have a look at Regency's Facebook page. Some of our videos, I think, will give you some really, really useful advice.
Okay, and before we wrap, we would get into where persons can find you on social media. Going back to the webinar that's coming up, it's a really important webinar, I believe. And tell us, without telling us too much before the webinar, about those Caribbean job trends that we're seeing. Is job hunting in Trinidad similar to job hunting in any of the other islands that you're going to be talking about? And are the job availability right now, is it the same that we're seeing, or it's different types of jobs, different sectors?
So great question. And of course, we'll reveal hopefully a lot of that next week, Tuesday. But, just to give you a kind of a high level overview. So oil and gas jobs in Guyana, for example, just as one category, those are clearly on the increase because that sector is really booming in Guyana. Whereas in Trinidad and Tobago, we're seeing a decline in that sector. So many oil and gas professionals are actually moving across or looking for opportunities, not even just in Guyana, but in Africa and other parts of the world. British Virgin Islands is a different kind of territory altogether, a lot of financial services jobs. They have a lot of tourism jobs, which Trinidad, again, we don't have many tourism jobs.
Right.
We should do, but we don't. Our financial services sector is pretty robust. There's a lot of recruitment in Trinidad, I would say. Again, just overview, in the government sector, the public service, there's a lot of recruiting going on, different jobs, different levels, which I don't think is happening so much in some of the other territories. And then one last sector is IT jobs. We're seeing a growing demand for IT professionals to work remotely for clients. So, for example, we at Regency's working on a partnership at the moment for IT professionals to provide services to clients in Southern California from the comfort of their home in the Caribbean. So remote work is also something that we're starting to see emerge a bit more, but in very specific skill sets. So, you can't obviously be, I don't know, a hotel receptionist and offer remote services. But if you're a programmer, you work in AI, even financial services, some of those things, there are opportunities to work remotely for firms all over the world. So it's a really interesting blend, and that's why I really would encourage people to come. I know it's not the whole Caribbean. We don't have time to do every single country, but we are looking at 4 key areas that we think, just give us a useful insight into for people in the region to think about the region as their job search, not just their own country.
Tell us about some of these speakers that would be at this webinar.
So in addition to myself, we are expecting to have the CEO of Strategic Recruitment Suriname, Demis John, will be joining us. We're having a representative from Higher BVI, Higher British Virgin Islands. Her name is Rebecca, so she'll be joining us to share the BVI perspective. And then we are hoping to have a representative from the Guyana Employers Confederation. That's still being ironed out. So by tomorrow, we should know for sure who the Guyana representative is going to be. But you're definitely going to get 4 country representatives. And because we're recruiters, we're at the front line of where the jobs are, what employers are looking for, advice for job seekers. So we're really at the pointy end of the stick, as they say. And I think it's going to be very, very useful information for job seekers.
Nice. Before you give us more details on the webinar and where persons can find you on social media, what do you want the participants of this webinar, persons who are going to attend, virtually, what do you want them to take away from this webinar, from this experience, and now use in their individual search and careers?
So that's a great question. There's a couple of key things. One is to start thinking about the region as your potential employment marketplace. So, excuse me, you can apply for jobs if you're a CARICOM citizen, get your skills certificate, and start to think about opportunities outside of your own country. So that's one. Number two is to, when you understand the trends, where there's growth, where there are opportunities, where there might be a decline and there's not as much recruitment going on, you can think about your own career path. Maybe you need to go and study a particular new skill to make yourself more appealing to a particular industry. Maybe you need to, go back and finish a qualification that you didn't. So the idea is really twofold. One, to say to you, this is what's out there, this is what the region has to offer. So think about that. But also, do you have the right skills and training for those jobs?
Right.
If not, there might be some gaps that you could look at filling over the next few months. So it's a little hard to forecast, what things are going to be like in the next year, 2 years. As we all know, you try and do that, and then a pandemic hits you, and that's the end of that. But, the best way that we can do this is to look at where there's been growth, share with candidates and job seekers. This is where we see and we predict that there's going to be opportunities. So this is where you should focus your job search. What do they need? Do you have what they need? And if not, where can you get it?
Tell us where on social media we can find you, your website information or any contact information at all.
Splendid. So www.regencytrinidad.com is our website. The registration link should be up there. You can also find Regency Recruitment on Facebook. If you are not seeing the link, although it was posted, and there's our flyer, thank you, there is a QR code. There's also a registration link. You should find them on both of those platforms. If you don't see it for any reason, you could send an email to info, I-N-F-O, at regencytrinidad.com. And wherever you are in the region, it's not only for Trinidadians, of course, and we'd be happy to send you the registration link. So it's a free webinar, no cost to attend, should be about an hour and a half on Tuesday at 9 a.m. Trinidad time. So please register and share this information with anybody you know who's looking for employment or might just be interested in our conversation.
Yes. Thank you so much, Lara. So much good information. We hope that people do check out the webinar, check out the sessions that you have recorded on your Facebook page and, get themselves educated and informed of all that they need to assist them with their job search. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having us.
No problem.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
You as well. We take a short break. When we come back, we still have lots more in store. Stay with us.